It's for national for me more draw some more cover about a daily update TV so in case then I will share and subscribe and was share na afro so any biahwe na asem Afari Gyan ka Afari Gyan ya jam say dodo na anim Afari Gyan no on nkane no electoral commission ama anase oda Ghana Electoral Commission na no na all ka say me say any kwan say ade a important like voting yenye changes because the entire na all kasa enye nim say Mensa de enhye bebre na begu akwama ono a waye kanifo a wadi electoral commission anim pan no all kasa enye because enema bebre shameful actor na obobo nima bi so to say vote buying ne to access promise to the citizen to say campaign a campaign in paying for omu begina simpiation some be keka kire ne de o se we mu nyina ensem bia etimi maniema boni si na enye se politician so yesa na Mensa nsem na wo kanu e kire se ade very important like voting to the people voting yenyina nim de abato so tumi de ba because why easy dan no say yenye nsesa yesa ebi ni se indelible ink ayeto aba ye de ya hyenso de e kire se obi abeto aba no enu say eno no na nchen ye pon 5 pm atititi nyina this the trends amanfo afollow obi a obeto e bia beto area o follow into no aden na wonko be make sudden changes in our electoral processes and not just enye otu nyai enye or no abe electoral commission paint all can onim they all can because when it comes to election it's very important election it is said there yabo obi to obi lusu na obi anwe na it is said yabo obi to the pain is the pain can even kill you. Mr. Mwenkoti Afari Gyan when some na or kind of self-fulfilled be a can near Meton comedy so Mensa actor and I say Nene and I say Subaya or putting out Emma Afari Gyan and so Ababe Kebino. Yamisho.
Electoral Commission must view the Inter-Party Advisory Committee, IPAC, as a convenient forum for discussing changes to our electoral practices, irrespective of whether the intended change originates from the Commission or the parties. The reason is that it is not good practice to foist changes in electoral practices on important stakeholders like political parties. It is any intended changes thoroughly at IPAC meetings with a view to achieving consensus. If consensus is achieved, the IPAC then becomes a convenient vehicle for disseminating the changes to the electorate. In days gone by, whatever vote buying or vote selling there was took place in secrecy. Not so these days. What we have now looks like an open market where candidates can freely buy votes and citizens can freely sell their votes in broad daylight, while we all look on seemingly unconcerned. But it is a shameful spectacle, because vote buying and vote selling are unlawful, and they undermine two important principles that underpin our democracy. Four, vote buying. In days gone by, whatever vote buying or vote selling there was took place in secrecy. Not so these days. What we have now looks like an open market where candidates can freely buy votes and citizens can freely sell their votes in broad daylight, while we all look on seemingly unconcerned. but it is a shameful spectacle. Because vote buying and vote selling are unlawful, and they undermine two important principles that underpin our democracy. Vote buying undermines the idea that we choose our leaders out of our free will. And vote selling undermines the idea that we hold our elected leaders accountable through elections. I believe that our democracy is kaput when election results cease to be a true representation of our verdict on the performance of our leaders, and we cannot therefore hold them accountable through elections. And that precisely is what the emerging open market in votes portends. I'm sure that there are other factors about our elections that you may consider to be unsatisfactory. But the ones I have mentioned are enough to indicate that all is not well with our democracy. In fact, there are additional signs of the deconsolidation of our democracy. That is all I want to say about elections to now. I'll now turn briefly to the judiciary. We will all agree that street protests and media wars are not appropriate ways of conclusion. Readily see why the judiciary is an integral part of our electoral system. As a general rule, election cases are urgent cases that need to be decided as quickly as practicable, except where the court genuinely does not know what to do in the particular situation. An example of such a situation occurred in Washington, D.C. in America. A candidate was officially sworn into office as a winner in the city council election when all the overseas votes had not been counted. Later, after collating the overseas votes, a different candidate emerged as the actual winner. The new winner went to court, but the case was not decided during the entire lifespan of the particular council, apparently because a situation like that had never happened before, and the court did not know what to do once somebody had already been officially sworn into office. When the council's life ended, the case was dislodged on the ground that the substance of the action was vacuous. As far as I know, allegations of corrupt judges taking money to decide election cases have been rare in Ghana. However, in recent times, concerns have been expressed about the judicial function in elections. These concerns are encapsulated in two interrelated concepts: the judicialization of elections and the politicization of the judiciary. Judicialization of elections refers to the increasing trend of resorting to the judiciary to settle electoral controversies of all kinds. Politicization of the judiciary refers to appointing judges in the hope that they will give judgments that are favorable to a particular political party or cause if the need arises. As to which one comes first, it is like the chicken and egg question. It depends on which chicken or egg one is talking about. Is it the chicken that laid the egg or the egg that hatched into the baby chick? So the sequence may differ from one country to another. What we can say for sure is that judicialization begets politicization, and politicization begets judicialization. And the end result is the same. Judges are embedded in the judiciary in anticipation of decisions favorable to a particular political party or cause. I do not know the extent to which judges are so embedded in our judicial system. I don't. But I find it noteworthy that even before the Supreme Court began hearing the 2012 presidential election petition, some Ghanaians were predicting a 6-3 verdict of the 9 justices based on the number of panel members appointed by presidents of the 2 disputing political parties. The prediction did not come true, but it indicates that there was a perception that the decisions of our judges might be influenced by political considerations. Be that as it may, political influence aside, judges may give unsound decisions in election cases for 2 other reasons. The first reason is insufficient knowledge of elections. Judges are not necessarily experts in elections, and they may sometimes give judgments in election cases without realizing the full implications for the entire electoral process. This is often seen in injunctions and consequential orders. For example, a judge once placed an injunction on holding the district for electing the district assembly members. Let us try, my recommendation, the mixed member proportional formula for electing people. I think if we use that formula, it holds the promise of bringing more political parties into the local government system. As it is today, I think it is predominantly NDC, NPP, even though we say it's non-partisan. Everybody knows that the composition of these assemblies predominantly NDC, NPP. 4, I think it should be made an offense to delay the release of any statutory allocations of funds to the assemblies. The present system whereby maybe first, second allocations do not go. 6 months, no, do not go. 6 months, no allocations gone. I think she made an offense to delay the release of funds. Finally, on local government. My understanding is that the elected members of the assemblies do not receive salary for their work. They do not receive pay. Nor are they given money to develop their respective electoral areas. If this is correct, what is the justification for members of parliament? Receiving money from the District Assembly's Common Fund. I think it is a discriminatory practice and must discontinue, particularly as it appears not to have any legal basis at all. I've asked many people, is there any legal basis for them receiving the money? And nobody seems to know. Maybe the journalists here, you can take the matter up and find out whether there is, in some way, legal basis for the MPs receiving money from the Common Fund. In this regard, I think that the intended change originates from the Commission or the parties. The reason is that it is not good practice to foist changes in electoral practices on important stakeholders like political parties. It is prudent to discuss any intended changes thoroughly at IPAC meetings with a view to achieving consensus. If consensus is achieved, the IPAC then becomes a convenient vehicle for disseminating the changes to the electorate. Let me say that during discussions at the IPAC, the Electoral Commission is not bound to accept the position even if it is supported by all the political parties. It's not a voting matter. How many parties do you have? On the books, maybe about 19.
for ni ahwefo memo akwaba esado over daily update TV. So na ahwe na subscribe na share na onua nso anya bi ahwe. Na yakwa kotie eye Afari former Electoral Commission for Ghana. Na ensembe na organika sayemo no ye ba be din koma of Mensa ene bia na odedi anase ni nyuma bia na chese odigu Akroma na chese Ghana fo aka ono ankasa de wenyeden ontie na Afari so abeka say na etie anase voting system ne tie no obetia na wontie ede be no beka ze na die na Mensa Electoral Commission waye ene ma waye de bebre na de me kura minim na ye beka ho asema na se de won so wate na ye de betu dwai na ye nyira nim se ye wa Ghana ase no efri Afari ene wo ma bedi kan eye Electoral Commission na se trend na eda ho na area Afari beto aso na Afari beto asa trend no so no ofri ho ofofro by Charlotte say by onu so be follow sa trend no Charlotte say ifli ho no akufado abagame ya be ponti Charlotte say sorry about appointed Mensa so by trend na o follow no we change trend no we because the trend ben we change no one and say o hwe enkane na yeto aba na yeto aba ye pon 5 p.m. ye starting 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock na ya pon 5 p.m. time ye pon aba no ansa ne abahya ase akinkan be hu do orene ye na En0ugh Mensa say 2024 election is very important. Say amanfo mini pass on beto aba we pa me kra me say meto aba na fe meto aba no bi but this time around meto aba no amanfo mini say on beto aba no pa but Mensa say about what we year every 5 p.m. about 3 p.m. apa ewiampo enti according to Afari was ade very important say ye changes sisa. You can't just go and have some conference meeting. No, about my best son 5 p.m. maybe about 3 p.m. No, what's here? Any sa near my boy unlawful. Unlawful. Who here? Ni kwa say any sa. Me to us I daily update TV. So now my boy can also subscribe. No, I share na afro so. It's not all to us. BM na wasaye. Ye him say can ye to aba. Unim say na amanfo yusu. Na manfo yusu o madwen eto ababa ako mienu miensa ba ako mienu miensa enti ye be no machine verification na just a machine ebe capture say ye the machine verify wa oye den kura na odimi nto ababim na sa na enim no enti no ye nim say akire ni ye nim say ye verify nkrofo manfo ye ways bi no mo say no ene ink bi wo ho ye the count say ultimate people that just say ebia ade achi ade so chia ya to aba na wi sa ink never indelible ink Mensa akoye conference meeting sa baya wasi sa ink no de hunya say sa ink no amanfo de omun sa besimti wasi ya to nchen ne the cost of materials into we ya to nchen for trend na aircon because yenya crew bi so say samia oguso on be strategy and omde aware election omde be break it no enti ink no say NDC for so be press conference say ink no de niema Mensa akeka nyina closure of 3 p.m. ni indelible ink niema she should go and review that they are going to oppose against those things this year. To remind you, this year is election year. People are very serious. They mean power. You opposition, to opposition enye is o mind this if what opposition 8 years enye small, so they really mean power. They need power. So ana according to Afari sa closure of 3 p.m. Emboa according to NDC conference. So almost almost ase sa indelible ink na use no so mo pa say and also say they will agree say ombakwa obi bekwa akoto aba yemfa ninsan no sa indelible ink ma, which is very very and also so crampo no so as indelible ink no kra so eboa wa akwan nyasa so bebre anything eboa ma yetimi double voting and I say obi a wasi na adwen pi say oye ne den ode ne fan su mu so hye mu obeto aba ne mienu no eba ne sa na sankofo ni nyina na esi won kwan mo muntumi enye den ento aba no empremienu etino sa ewe no ne juma edi no entina according to ohene Afari kane isi boss no ensema de go akwan mo no ensema ebe promote peace and stability says Mensa oda electoral commission no I was say wohwe na offer nsem na otimide ebo Ghana ho bra because abra ye 2024 me about to mo anso na ye ana manfo so ani abre ye pa say omo ebe break 8 ebim so say do or die omo beba power ekwan bia so enti na about to we ekwa we say free and fair enti onemiama na washa ase oyi eniema bi every about to process no no onhwe no on review na this year no amanfo any abreye pass omo beje ayetumi na stay connected na high daily update on subscribe ya na subscribe na wa share na unyanso ayeren enya bi ahwe na ye kwa eni ma no nti so bi abeje bre na wa subscribe.